Hi friends, today's class will be on fevers in microbiology. Here is a list of fevers and here is a list of organisms. So let us see one by one. The first is scarlet fever and the organism is streptococcal pyogenes, which is toxin mediated. Next is cerebrospinal fever and the organism is Neisseria meningitidis. Shanghai fever, Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Pontiac fever, Legionella pneumophila. Undulant fever, which is otherwise called as Malta fever or Mediterranean fever, the organism is Brucella species. And then Brazilian purpuric fever, organism is Haemophilus aegypticus. Rat bite fever, it is caused by two organisms. One is Spirilla minus and the other one is Streptobacillus moniliformis. Spirilla minus causes Soloco fever and Streptobacillus species causes Haverhill fever. And then typhoid fever, as you know that very well, Salmonella typhi. Enteric fever means Salmonella paratyphi A, paratyphi B. Then coming to the rickettsial group, it produces spotted fever group itself. And the first is epidemic typhus. The organism is Rickettsia provozagi and the name is gold fever. Then Rocky Mountain spotted fever, rickettsii, which is hard tick. Okay, it's a vector borne. The whole rickettsial group is vector borne. And Rocky Mountain spotted fever is hard tick, transmitted by hard tick. Indian tick typhus, that is Rickettsia connery. Next, Q fever, organism is Coxella burnetii. Then trench fever or quinine fever or 5-day fever, which is caused by Bartonella quintana. And Oria fever, which is otherwise called as Carrion's disease. The organism is Bartonella bacilliformis. And spirochetes, under spirochetes, rat fever or icterohemorrhagic fever or canicola fever or mud fever, which is otherwise called as pre-tibial fever. The organism is Leptospira interrogans, which is rodent borne. Okay, it's one of the most commonest zoonotic bacterial infections, Leptospira interrogans. Next is relapsing fever, that is Borrelia recurrentis. Next is 8-day fever. 8-day fever, which is also called as neonatal tetanus. The causative agent is Clostridium tetani. Why it is called 8-day fever? Because usually the symptom starts after 1 week of birth. Here the child loses its ability to suck and cry. Okay, because of the rigidity of the muscles and spasm, and usually it develops the opisthotonous position. Okay. And that's why it's called 8-day fever. And next is 100-day fever. The organism is Bordetella pertussis. It's not exactly fever. Here it's producing cough, whooping cough. Okay. Next is rabbit fever or deer fly fever or lemmings fever. The organism is Francisella tularensis, which is tick. Okay, deer tick. Tick borne. Next is parrot. Usually it affects birds. Okay, ornithosis. And the organism is Chlamydia psittaci. The next is Glander's disease. Here horses will be more commonly affected. The organism is Burkholderia malai. And Izumay fever. Here the organism is Yersinia pseudotuberculosis. Next comes to the parasitology. In parasitology, yeah, fever, no, malaria. So obviously malaria should come to your mind. And the causative agents are Plasmodium species. And next is Kala Azar. Kala Azar means black fever. Black fever means that is nothing but Leishmania donovani. Here there will be hyperpigmented lesions will be there. And then Katayama fever, that is Schistosomia mansoni or japonicum, which is nothing but due to antigens which are released from the eggs and the adult worms are responsible for this infection, that is Katayama fever. Next, in mycology, usually fever will be there in Candidemia, Cryptococcus neoformans infections and all systemic mycosis, which is also called as endemic mycosis, where the fungus may reach the bloodstream and causes fever. But here the typically valley fever, it's also called as desert rheumatism or California fever. The organism is Coccidioidomycosis, that is Coccidioides immitis. Okay. Thank you.